Welcome to While We Were Distracted, the podcast where we explore topics that often get overshadowed in the rush of daily life.
All right, get ready to dive deep because today we're tackling submerged continents. You know, those lost landmasses and ancient civilizations that vanished beneath the waves. So get ready. This is going to be good.
Yeah, we're going way beyond Atlantis today. We're going to be looking at some pretty esoteric traditions that hint at a world that's, well, very different from what we know.
We're talking about the Secret Doctrine, Volume 2, Anthropogenesis.
Mm-hmm.
Intense title, right? This book is suggesting that everything we think we know about human history might be completely wrong. It might just be the tip of the iceberg, a very ancient and very submerged iceberg.
Well, yeah, the Secret Doctrine basically proposes that before our current continents even existed, there were other continents, each associated with what the book calls root races.
Okay,
And these were like distinct phases of humanity.
okay.
They rose and fell over these incredibly vast periods, and ultimately they vanished beneath the waves.
Wait, so we're not talking about just a few sunken cities here and there. We're talking entire continents that just disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
Like, where do they go?
Well, according to the Secret Doctrine, one of these continents, it was associated with what they call the second root race.
Okay,
This continent was in the Pacific Ocean.
okay.
And get this, it claims this civilization was so advanced that they could control natural forces.
Control natural forces. Okay, that's just cool. Like, what kind of power do they have, right?
Right.
But what's the book's take on how civilizations that old could have existed? I mean, mainstream science kind of tells a different story, right?
Well, yeah, the Secret Doctrine basically challenges all of the conventional scientific timelines for human history and for the formation's continents. It basically argues that the Earth is much, much older than we currently believe, and it's gone through these cycles of creation and destruction over incredibly long periods.
Okay.
So each root race rises, flourishes, and then eventually it falls, and its continent eventually ends up succumbing to natural disasters.
Wow. So, like, if you imagine the Earth as a stage, each root race is kind of playing its part.
Right.
Before the curtain falls and the set changes entirely.
Exactly.
Wow, that's a really powerful image. Makes you think, what secrets are actually lying at the bottom of the ocean, right? Like hidden under millennia of sediment and stuff.
Right.
I mean, if these civilizations were as advanced as this book claims, imagine the technology they had, the knowledge, the stories that are lost down there. It's like, I don't know, it's like a real-life archaeological treasure hunt just waiting to happen.
Yeah, I mean, we may not have all the answers, but it definitely makes you reconsider what we think we know about history.
Okay, so let's talk about these continents specifically. I mean, Atlantis is the most famous one, right? But the Secret Doctrine mentions others, like Ruta and Daitia.
Yeah.
And what about these mysterious sacred islands? Were those home to the root races too?
Yeah, that's exactly what the book suggests. It claims that these islands, they weren't just random land masses that happened to be there.
Right.
They were inhabited by earlier root races. And just like the continents that we've been talking about, these islands also ended up submerged, swallowed by the sea as the Earth went through these cycles of change.
It's crazy to think about entire civilizations thriving on these islands that are just gone, completely lost beneath the waves. It really makes you realize how powerful nature is.
It's a very humbling thought, isn't it? It really sparks a lot of questions, like what were these civilizations like? What did they achieve? What secrets did they hold?
I know. It's like this giant jigsaw puzzle, and we're missing most of the pieces. We're left with these tiny little hints and fragments, and then, like, our imagination just goes wild trying to fill in the gaps.
Exactly. And that's where things get really interesting. So I say we delve into some more specifics about these submerged lands, about the civilizations that supposedly called them home. So are you ready for a deeper dive?
Oh, absolutely. Let's get into it.
Okay, so let's dive deeper into these mysteries. Let's start with the most famous one, Atlantis. I mean, we've all heard the stories, but the Secret Doctrine has a unique take on this legendary island.
Yeah, it's not just some lost city, right?
Right.
It connects Atlantis to these root races and the cyclical destruction.
Exactly. In the Secret Doctrine, Atlantis is described as the last remnant of this vast continent, actually, the fourth one.
Okay.
And it was inhabited by the fourth root race. So you got to remember, each root race had its own continent. And, well, each one met its end as the Earth went through its cycles.
Right, right. So each continent is like a stage for these root races.
Mm-hmm.
And Atlantis was like the final act.
Exactly.
But why did it sink? Was that just part of the natural cycle, or was there something else going on?
Well, according to the book, the Atlanteans, they were incredibly advanced.
Okay.
But their civilization, it kind of got corrupted. Like they were pursuing power and material wealth, and that led to their downfall. So the continent was swallowed by the sea.
So it's kind of like a cautionary tale, right? reminding us that even the most advanced civilizations can fall. Makes you wonder if there are any parallels to our civilization today.
Yeah, it really does. I mean, that cyclical destruction idea does raise some uncomfortable parallels. Are we, like, with all of our technology and our pursuit of wealth, I don't know, are we going to follow in the footsteps of the Atlanteans?
Yeah, it makes you think, right? I mean, if these ancient civilizations could be that advanced and just vanish, like, what does that mean for us? Are we making the same mistakes?
It's a very sobering thought. And, well, it brings us back to the point that these stories of these submerged continents, whether they're literal or allegorical, they're these powerful reminders about how temporary civilizations are and how important it is to live in harmony with nature. But let's move on to some of the other sacred islands mentioned in the book.
Okay.
We talked about Ruta and Daitia, but there's another one that I found really interesting. It's called Shalmali. It's called the White Island, and it was associated with the second root race.
Oh, yeah, Shalmali. I remember that. So what's so special about this White Island? Was it like a spiritual center or something?
Yeah, according to the book, it was. It was this place of huge spiritual significance. That's where the second root race, they flourished there. They evolved.
Okay, so we've got these continents and islands, each one connected to a different root race, each one playing its part in this grand scheme of human evolution. And then boom, they're gone. Submerged. It's almost like, I don't know, a cosmic reset button or something. But what about the people? Like, what happened to them? Did anyone survive these huge cataclysmic events?
Well, the book suggests that some did survive. They migrated to other parts of the world. They carried with them the knowledge and the traditions of their lost civilizations.
Oh, wow. So they were like the seeds for new civilizations. They planted this knowledge from the past in new lands.
Exactly.
That's incredible. But one thing that still kind of gets me is just the sheer scale of these events. We're talking continents rising and sinking, civilizations appearing and disappearing over these vast periods. Like, how does the Secret Doctrine reconcile this with what we know about Earth's history?
Yeah, that's an important point. The Secret Doctrine basically proposes a totally different timeline for Earth's history.
Okay.
It's saying that our planet is way older than we currently think. And it argues that over millions, maybe even billions of years, the Earth has gone through these cycles of geological upheaval. Continents are forming, disappearing. It's all part of this like natural rhythm.
Okay.
You can kind of imagine it like breathing in and out.
Okay.
Continents rise up, they flourish, and then eventually they submerge, and then new ones take their place.
So it's like the Earth itself is alive and constantly changing and evolving.
Exactly.
But how does that actually line up with the geological evidence that we have?
Well, the Secret Doctrine draws on these ancient esoteric traditions, right? It's not using modern scientific methods.
All right.
So it offers a different way of looking at things, like one that focuses on the cyclical change and the interconnectedness of everything.
Okay.
So whether or not you agree with its claims, it definitely makes you think about different ways of understanding our planet's history.
Yeah, it definitely makes you think outside the box. Okay, we talked about the lost continents and the islands, but I'm curious about the people themselves. What were these root races actually like? Did they look like us? Did they have similar cultures and beliefs?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting. Let's see what the Secret Doctrine has to say about the characteristics of these root races and how they evolved. Are you ready for a glimpse into truly ancient history?
Absolutely. Let's do it. All right, so we've talked about the lost continents and islands, vanished civilizations. I mean, it's like something out of a fantasy novel. But what about the people? What were these root races really like?
This is where the Secret Doctrine gets really wild. It goes way beyond just continents sinking. It talks about the evolution of humanity. Each root race, according to the book, had its own unique characteristics. Each one had a specific purpose, a different level of spiritual development.
So they weren't just humans as we know them today, spread across different continents.
Exactly. The book actually describes the earlier root races as totally different from us, both physically and spiritually.
Oh, wow.
Some were described as giants, others were more like ethereal beings, and some even had forms that, I don't know, we might consider fantastical today. So imagine a history of humanity that goes way beyond just Homo sapiens, right? A history that has all these branches and offshoots that we can barely even fathom.
Okay, my mind is officially blown. So each root race had its time, its continent rose and fell, and then a new root race emerged, and it was even more evolved than the last.
Yeah, like a cosmic upgrade.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And what about those divine instructors we talked about before? Did they have anything to do with this evolution?
Well, yeah, the book suggests they played a huge role in guiding this evolution. They imparted knowledge and wisdom to each root race. They were like, I don't know, cosmic teachers or something, helping humanity progress through each stage.
So they weren't just watching everything unfold, they were actively involved in shaping human history. I mean, did they have anything to do with the continent sinking?
That's a great question, and the book kind of leaves it open to interpretation.
Okay.
It does suggest that these instructors were involved in the rise and fall of these civilizations, but the specifics are, well, they're a bit murky. Like, were the continents sinking just a natural cycle, or was it a result of choices each root race made? The Secret Doctrine gives us some clues, but it doesn't lay everything out.
So it's like a big cosmic mystery, basically. We're left trying to piece together these fragments and coming up with our own conclusions. But here's something I keep thinking about. If these civilizations were so advanced, even spiritually advanced, why'd they collapse? What caused their downfall?
Yeah, it's the big question, right? The book does suggest that in some cases, like with Atlantis, it was because they strayed from their spiritual principles. They got caught up in materialism, greed, and power. And, well, that ultimately led to their demise. That's a pretty relevant lesson even for us today, I think.
Yeah, totally. It makes you wonder, are we headed down the same path? Like, are we repeating the mistakes of these lost civilizations with our obsession with technology and progress and everything? It's kind of unsettling, but also a good reminder to check ourselves. Check our values and priorities.
Absolutely. It really does make you think about what matters most. Are we building a future that's going to last both materially and spiritually? Or are we headed towards the same fate as those submerged continents? Even though these stories are shrouded in mystery and myth, they offer some really important lessons.
Well, I'm walking away from this deep dive with a lot to think about. It's definitely made me question what I thought I knew about history and even about humanity itself. It's a good reminder that we're part of something much bigger, this story that goes back thousands of years, with chapters that are lost beneath the waves.
And that's the power of exploring different perspectives like this. They challenge us to question what we think we know, and they spark our imagination. They encourage us to keep searching for answers. Who knows what other secrets might be out there?
Well, I'll never look at the ocean the same way again. Thanks for walking us through this. It's been incredible.
My pleasure. And remember, the deep dive may be ending, but your own explorations are just beginning. Keep questioning, keep searching, and who knows, you might just uncover some amazing mysteries of your own.
Don't forget to like and subscribe for the next episode on While We Were Distracted.